Welcome to the SciFi Pubcast. Come for a drink, but stay for the speculation. Skill is out for Season 1 of Star Wars The Acolyte. The pub discusses the series, the good, the bad, and that cute-looking rodent dude. And Derek didn't die. So partake in the spike punch if you're inclined. This is the SciFi Pubcast. Greetings, welcome to the SciFi Pubcast, the podcast that tries to be a pub, and perhaps someday a pub that tries to be a podcast. As always, we are looking for customers to come visit our bar. If you're passionate about something and want to be in a podcast, well, let us know, because this bar is all about community. If you want to help us out, please consider leaving a 5-star review wherever you find the show, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. I'm Joel. I'm the owner of the SciFi Pubcast, so to speak. And looking around today, and we have a regular, staff members. Notice I said staff members and the cast members. Yay! I deserve a drink for that. We have Keri Simpson and Derek Beebe. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hello.
So let's see. I know. So there's just some. We're recording on Sunday. It's 3:05, July 21st, Eastern Standard Time. I think it's standard still. And so the news of President Joe Biden not running for a second term just broke about an hour ago. So we were all like, what? There's breaking historical news happening? And we have to record a podcast. So that's the context for the show. Hopefully this show will be released either later tonight or more than likely tomorrow sometime. I understand Derek's kind of on the sick side, right? Derek, man, you're still there? I can see you breathing, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm a little sick today, but I am breathing.
Excellent. But we usually start with Keri. So, Keri, how you doing? How is happening?
Well, in light of the news that broke just, 10 minutes ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. I am drinking. I mixed myself a gin and tonic before we got on this call, so there's that. And in happier news, I am starting to get packed for Star Trek Las Vegas, which is happening weekend after next. So that is also very exciting. So that at least is very exciting and very happy news, because I'm going to be partying with the Mission Log people a week from Thursday.
I'm so jealous. I went last year, had a time in my life, but just not happening this year. No public speaking gigs for your doctorate or anything like that? Yeah, I did some public speaking gigs a couple weeks ago at the Forest City Comic Con in London, Ontario, Canada. Very small.
Keeping it local.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still trying to get on these panels for these conventions, but there's not an actors strike on right now, so they actually have like actors which people want to see, as opposed to academics in training like myself.
Imagine that. Well, I mean, maybe you could come down here and give a talk across the street from Disneyland. If the strike actually goes through.
Yeah. Maybe I have to
go on strike.
D23, that's happening next month, right? That might be in strike.
I don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
I know Comic-Con is next weekend, SDCC.
Okay, cool.
But other than that, yeah, whatever.
It's all right.
We digress.
Anything else happening in Southern California?
No, that's pretty much it. They other than the heat wave, I mean, it's gonna be in the 90s for the rest of today and maybe tomorrow. So yeah, that's fun.
Stay cool.
Yeah.
And cool, I mean like cold and as well as cool as cool. Right?
Yeah, I hope the air conditioner isn't messing up the recording, because I'm not turning it off. It's too freaking hot.
Yeah, and as you know, this is a classy establishment. We take our little bar very seriously.
Of course we do.
Yeah,
of course we do.
So this is why we monetize absolutely nothing here. Yes. Of course, then we have Derek Beebe, who's in charge of our kitchen, and that also explains why we don't monetize anything here. But Derek, man, I know you're under the weather right now. Thanks for showing up. You're a trooper. What's new with you?
Not really much to report. I'm unfortunately sick today. Don't really have much else to add. And I'm staying out of the kitchen because I don't want to infect the food. So, someone else will have to take care of that today.
Do you have a trainee, someone you've been training, an acolyte, you could say?
I have been trying to teach one of the Ewoks how to do dishes, but they just keep like shedding so much fur into the water. It just turns into this kind of like brown mush by the end of it. It's not really working out very well. I asked if I could shave him down, but HR started talking to me about that, so I backed off on that one.
Since when do the Ewoks report to you, Derek? They're my security staff.
They didn't report to me. I just kind of like pulled one aside and asked for a favor, which again got HR involved.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, as long as HR is involved, that means I don't have to go and start looking at you disapprovingly.
Yeah.
Just happens now, Wookie. Okay, moving on. Myself, what's happening with Joel? I've been hosting karaoke at the graduate student bar on Western University, which is the grad club. I've been doing some revisions to my first chapter, my dissertation, and I've been going down lots and lots of different rabbit holes. What else? Well, my new thing, by new I mean like within the last month or two, I've been going to different value villages and thrift shops trying to find cheap Blu-ray movies to buy, mostly science fiction, occasional musical. Yeah, there's that. And vinyl. So that's what I've been doing. Yeah.
Nice.
Because I don't have Wi-Fi at home, so because I'm trying to save money, I've been buying to the whole physical media stuff like it's the year 2000. It's great.
Well, I mean, buying the physical media is the only way to ensure that you actually own it, rather than lease it or license it, as the case may be for digital stuff.
Absolutely. But we're not here to talk about.
No, we're not.
And the amount of Blu-rays I buy off of through thrift shops or when it goes on sale on Amazon. But it's for research purposes. Which is half true, which is the funny part.
Hey,
Okay.
Well, sorry to digress on this, Joel, but can you do like a tax write-off if it's for research purposes or not?
I can't.
Is that just an American thing? Okay.
It depends if you're incorporated and stuff like that. And no. Hey, listen, I'm a poor PhD student now. I haven't made a real salary income in like a couple of years. So I need to go back to make to a real job sometime next year or two to actually make some more money.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Or I'll die under a bridge of old age. There's always that option.
Let's not do that. But,
yeah,
okay.
Hopefully not. But let's see. Okay, we need to do this, folks. Yes, that's right. We're talking about the new Disney Plus Star Wars show, The Acolyte. I'm sure we all have thoughts about it, right? And before we start talking about it, please go watch the entire season because we'll be talking spoiler and we will be speculating. So there's that. It's available at Disney Plus. There's like 8 episodes, I believe. Am I wrong? I think it's 8.
8 episodes.
Yeah. That's good. So I think we all have thoughts. I think everyone has thoughts who's seen that show. But let's start with you, Keri, because I don't want Derek to die on us.
Aww.
So, okay. So what's your initial thoughts of the whole Acolyte business?
I mean, I really like the show. I appreciate that you don't have to have read the High Republic books to know what's going on. It's set far enough after the events of the High Republic that you don't necessarily have to know the bullet points, except for maybe a couple of things. Right. But it's not necessary. It helps. So there's that. I had this sinking feeling that we were going to end up with something of a Rogue One situation by the end of it, and I was unfortunately right with as far as that goes. But we'll get more into that later. But at the same time, the only reason I don't like, sorry, my only issue with it so far is that I don't know that we've gotten confirmation that there's a season 2, and there's a lot of stuff in this show that feels very unfinished. There's a lot of stuff that really hasn't been explained. So yeah, and if it doesn't get renewed, then that might tick down my appreciation of it a little bit. But otherwise, it's been cool so far.
Cool.
Derek?
Thanks for your thoughts, Derek. We understand. Okay.
No, I'm here. So I went into it pretty high expectations because, it was going to be during the HR/prequel era. It was going to be the height of the Jedi. We were going to get to see, multiple Jedi using their lightsabers against the Sith and all that stuff. So I was very excited going into it. And it was I liked it a lot, but I did have some problems with it. It was in some ways a disappointment for me. I think the number one thing that bothered me about it was getting 2 entire flashback episodes for a backstory that I didn't find terribly interesting. What I cared about was the present day story. And once we met Manny Jacinto as the Sith, he was amazing. And that's what I wanted to see.
It was revealed that he was the Sith, or one of the Sith.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was very frustrated whenever we got an entire flashback episode. And furthermore, it was literally just a flashback episode. There was no framing device. There was no connecting back to the modern day. So it just felt kind of clumsy in the way we would have present day, and then all of a sudden here's a flashback, and then back to present day. I would have liked there to have been a framing device of someone in the present narrating the events, and then that also could have made it faster as well, because I didn't feel like out of an 8-episode story that 2 of the episodes had to be the story of them as little kids, particularly the second one. I felt like that should have been a 10-minute sequence being narrated by a character in the present day.
Well, okay. I'm going to disagree with you there for a second, because one of the flashback episodes is from Osha's point of view, and we see what happened from Osha's point of view, and it is a bit of a murder mystery, really, in that respect. And then the second flashback is from Sol's point of view, and the 2 taken together actually fit and link up. And it's like, yeah, May still started the fire, but there was more to what went on than just that. Anyway.
Let me weigh on this because I want to give my initial thoughts, because what we're talking about now kind of feeds into my overall impression of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I like certain aspects of the show. Other aspects I didn't care for. I thought the structure of how they did the storytelling was clunky, and many of the devices used did not work for me. And what we're talking about now is that the flashback episodes, which is very, very based off the Akira Kurosawa movie from 1950, Rashomon, so you have different point of views relating to the same event, which is a very Star Wars thing to do, because Kurosawa was such an influence on George Lucas. And of course, with starting with the original Hope, this whole different perspective idea with good old Ben Kenobi. Right? Okay.
You mean the line from Return of the Jedi? Everything. Things are true depending on your point of view is like,
Yeah, is he? He's not your father? Wait. Well, metaphorically, maybe, no.
Metaphorically, anything could be happening here.
Yeah. So, but we're talking about the 3rd episode of the Acolyte, which is entitled Destiny. And that one in particular turned a lot of people off from what I see on social media and on YouTube. And I didn't particularly care for it either. Like, to me, it's like some of the fights sequences were amazing, especially when they were using the string or line physical technique that goes back for a bit. I thought some lightsaber fights, there were some good aspects of it and some really not particularly good aspects of it, depending how detail-oriented they were. The close-up stuff was great, but it's a very darkly shot series for a lot of it. The story of the plot didn't particularly work well, for me at least, as being compelling. But I really liked the acting. I really like first the first reveal. Ooh, who's the Sith Lord? If that was meant to be a surprise, my God, they failed tremendously. Like, literally, it's a complete train wreck, because there was one suspect, and come on. What got me was the second reveal, which is in the last episode, where the whole, who's Craig Mara? Who is this person really? As we saw a glimpse of someone who appears to be Darth Plagueis.
Yeah.
If you know your Latin books.
Well, okay, so there are a couple of things about that I think they've nicknamed online Manny Jacinto's character either Darth Teeth or Darth Forearms, which is like, okay, I'll take either of those. But Kimir doesn't only kind of sort of admits to be a Sith. It's like, well, you might call me Sith, but you might call me something else. I mean, that could go either way. Again, this is like the certain point of view type thing. It's like, I'm not completely admitting to be the Sith, and the fact that we got I know that a lot of people on the internet were kind of pissed off that Ki-Adi-Mundi made an appearance in the show, talking about how well we don't know that it's a Sith. It's probably not a Sith. I'm like, and nobody who's come back from that mission other than Vernestra can confirm or deny that. So it still matches up with his line from Phantom Menace, where the Sith haven't been seen in hundreds of years. Like, well, yeah, they can't confirm or deny it, so why not?
Yeah, I think that makes sense because they try to stay hidden, and there's a lot of cover up by the Jedi Order. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah. Hey, we're in recession. We don't talk about recession, so we're not in a recession, right? Okay.
Exactly.
And the whole point of the story is about the Jedi arrogance, thinking that they know what's going on, and like, oh, well, that guy wasn't really a Sith. He just, thought he was. And also, Kamir was saying it facetiously to Saul, who subsequently died. So, and of course, we haven't seen the end of this story yet. It's still an ongoing saga. But yeah, I mean, no matter what happens, it can just be that the Jedi were too arrogant to think, well, this couldn't possibly be a Sith because the Sith are extinct. It's just some guy using dark side powers. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Because not every dark side user is a Sith. The Sith is a very specific cult, so like there are only 10% of the dark side users out there or anything like that.
Derek, it's a religious order, okay? Not a cult.
But I mean that also kind of goes back to what we were seeing, and especially in like the flashbacks with the coven of Force witches, which are not Night Sisters, by the way. That's completely different coven. Mm-hmm. On Dathomir, not on Brendok. But there's different ways of using the Force. And what I particularly liked about episode 3 was displayed that arrogance. The Jedi is like, yes, we're gonna stop this one cult from inducting the children into their cult by persuading them to come and join our cult instead. Like, come on, guys. Do you not see the hypocrisy here?
Yeah. And I also really didn't like the fact that they were not in Republic territory. They were on an unaligned world, yet they felt they had the authority to barge in there and invade someone's private property and try to, whisk their children away. It's not cool.
Yeah, so much of the Fitty West video. Speaking about Cragmar, going back, he's the character's listed as the name Stranger on IDBM, which is interesting. Yeah.
I'm guessing Kamir is like an alias. Maybe it's not his actual name. Who knows?
Let's get into this right now. Is he Darth Sidious? What do you guys think?
No.
I don't think he's Darth Sidious.
I think there's a very good chance, because why would they, foreshadow Darth Plagueis, despite the fact that he doesn't look like, Palpatine in the talk in the Phantom Menace.
He doesn't like Palpatine at any age.
But this is 100 years before that. Also, Ian McDiarmid is not Filipino, so that would be a weird match.
Yeah, but I don't think it's this is science fiction, right? You can change your appearance.
And you don't think Plagueis could have had more than one apprentice?
It's possible, but as soon as I saw Darth Plagueis, my mind turned to Sidious, right? Okay. Oh, this is it. And it makes sense from a thematic point of view, because Cragmar, or whoever you want to call it, right, the Stranger, right, and he's not all bad. He's not like an evil monster for the most part. Like you can take him out to dinner, right? He's polite in civil contact.
Until he wants to kill you, sure.
Yeah, sure. Whereas personally, I have such a horrible look at Darth Sidious. He's the epitome of evil, right? Cragmar, not so much. Yeah, maybe he does evil things, but he's not the epitome of it. So to me, as soon as they foreshadowed Darth Plagueis by showing that one shot, going, oh wow, and feeding into this whole Taoism take about the whole series about the dark side versus the light side, and it has to be balanced, everything's into play, all that. This is a very simplistic interpretation of Taoism, which is not particularly correct, but there is a way of seeing this idea that there's no absolutes in the world. There's just in the universe. It's just balance, and it changes. It's a constant flow of the river, so to speak.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like especially if you get into like a lot of the books and stuff, Jedi and presumably Sith can take multiple apprentices. Like as soon as one Padawan gets knighted, you can apparently take on another student,
Right.
maybe. But it doesn't always happen, but that's how that works. And I mean, the whole rule of two thing is kind of, it's more of a guideline than a rule, because the Sith are always have a secret apprentice here or a secret master there, and they think they don't know what each other is doing, but they end up but that becomes one of the sources of conflict and stuff. So like, it's not, I don't think the stranger, it really boils down to, I don't think the stranger is Darth Sidious. I know
he's Gandalf, right? He's Gandalf.
More like Sauron's lackey, like,
oh God,
lackey or something. I don't know.
Sorry, Derek, I saw you were coughing. So as long as an alien doesn't burst from your chest, you'd be all right to continue, right?
The other thing is, Sheev Palpatine is from Naboo, and he grew up in the public spotlight. He was the son of a famous aristocracy, so like there's no way he has this secret past from 100 years ago. He's a standard human male with a standard human male lifespan, and he grew up in the public eye on Naboo public life. So
you're so naive,
except Vernestra Rowe is something like
an alien.
She's Mirialian, and they pretty much have a standard human lifespan, which is about 100 years. But apparently, and I did check this out, like apparently, like using the Force can like slow the aging process or something. That doesn't make I don't know. But Vernestra Rowe is supposed to be over 100 years old, and she looks like she's maybe in her 60s.
Yeah. My other thing is that thematically, what's happening is that we have the series filling a lot of the blanks to try to repair some issues from the last three sequel movies, especially The Rise of Skywalker, and the theme of trying to live forever through cloning and through experimentation. You see that in The Mandalorian. I don't want to call it retconning. It's more like filling in the gaps, so to speak. Very similar to what the Clone Wars TV show did to the prequels. And the story hasn't been told yet, but part of my mind still thinks that it's Sidious. And somehow or other, Sidious is back from the dead, right? I don't know.
You're the first person I've ever heard to say that, and you'll probably be the last one.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not saying I'm right, but this is where my mind went to when I saw it. So.
Well, I mean, if we're going with like the concept of like hopping bodies or something, maybe it's Sidious, and maybe Sidious is like kind of occupying, or maybe this is like Darth Sidious's original body, and then he's gonna hop into Palpatine later. I don't think so. I think that might get a bit too complicated, or maybe not. I mean, Star Wars: The Old Republic, the Sith Emperor does this like twice. You have to defeat him like 3 times in different bodies. So
Yeah, this is all witchcraft to me, right?
Yeah.
Oh wait, there's witches.
Yes.
And Derek's just looking at me going, "This man's crazy."
Wait, Derek is just figuring out that we're crazy? Seriously?
Oh God. What else, guys? What's your favorite aspect of the show? Let's go with Derek.
Episode 5, that amazing lightsaber battle between the stranger and all those Jedi. That was so cool. That I might have to say that's the best lightsaber battle in the entire franchise. I mean, it might be better than Revenge of the Sith, because that was crazy. And the whole thing with using the Cortosis helmet, and he would headbutt their lightsaber to short it out and everything. Yeah. That was such a cool episode. And like I said before, Manny Jacinto was so good as the bad guy. He gave such an amazing performance. I only knew him as Jason from The Good Place, where he just plays this stoner idiot. So this was a real revelation for me to see him as this dark, sinister, intense figure with those guns. And
Yes.
yeah, he was so good. And the moment I saw that episode, my first thought was like, man, I wish this had been the villain of the sequel trilogy instead of Kylo Ren, because he was just instantly amazing and, you know, sinister and cool and such a great, intense performance. So yeah, he was definitely the high point of the whole show for me. And I was so convinced that he was going to die in the last episode. I was pleasantly surprised that he wasn't. And I desperately hope we get a season 2 so that we can see more of him. And of course, Darth Plagueis, who I was very excited to see because that's like my favorite Star Wars novel. So that little cameo was awesome. And that also, it's also kind of like a complaint at the same time, because the average casual viewer would have no idea what that was. They'd just be like, oh, who's this weird alien looking at them from the cave? Like, no, like maybe 5% of the viewing audience would understand that that was Darth Plagueis. So for us hardcore fans, like, oh my God, it's the most amazing moment of the show. But for everybody else, it's like, what the fuck was that? It's kind of like when they have Maul at the end of Solo. Most people were like, wait, I thought he was dead.
God.
Well, but at the same time, it's like, you know, people saw there were you know, conversations about the helmet being used to short out the lightsabers. Like, is that some kind of weird Beskar or something? Like, no, it's cortosis. And yeah, when you got confirmation of like, oh, right, that and that kind of amuses me. I mean, it always amuses me when they pull something out of Legends like that, because, you know, you have the faction of fandom that is like, it should only be Legends and everything else is crap and stuff like, and they've been upfront from the beginning. If they can use something from Legends, they will. Like, why create something out of whole cloth when you have something that fits the bill right there? So whatever.
Yeah, I think I think it's a good mix. I don't like this fan service, but the stories are great. If they bring into canon, that's great. This is why, like, as soon as I see Darth Plagueis, maybe he'll get his own TV show. Who knows? Maybe they'll do story after story. All right, I would love to see that. You know, the evil side of things, or like the dark side. But Keri, let me ask the same question I asked Derek. What's one thing you really like about the series?
Well, as a martial artist, I really love the fight sequences, especially, I mean, don't get me wrong, the lightsaber battles were really, really freaking cool, but the open hand combat, like the first episode, it was just like, I was just like, whoa, that is awesome. And then I got pissed off that they killed Trinity off, Jedi Knight Trinity off in the first episode.
Maz Endara.
Keri Ann Moss, Master Endara. I got really pissed off that they cast her in this and then killed her off in the first episode. I wasn't surprised. I was just kind of annoyed. It's like, come on, subvert my expectations somehow here, people. But the so the open hand combat was just like this is freaking amazing. Please give me more of this, like always.
Yeah, all the fight scenes were incredible in the show. That was definitely the high point of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my thing is that, and I'm not sure if I like this or not, but it took a lot of courage to do, is the fact that, yes, they killed off major characters all the time. Even after building up for a few episodes and having this emotional attachment, Leslie Headland, we just killed them off. You know, you mentioned the first one, right, Master Endara, but like I still feel for Jackie and Yord.
I do. Yord grew on me, but I mean, Jackie was amazing, and I mean, Daphne Keene is amazing in everything I've seen her in. So that's one thing. But at the same time, like I said, I had a feeling very early on that this was going to be some kind of like Rogue One situation where like no one was going to get out of this alive. So we still have some plausible deniability as far as, you know, who's responsible and stuff like that. No one's around to admit, except for Vernestra, to admit that, one, the Jedi might have screwed up, and two, that there might be a Sith Lord or two or five running around. I mean, for all we know, at least for all I know, having read the books or most of the books in the High Republic timeline, we could still be dealing with the Nil.
Yeah.
I don't know. We haven't. They haven't finished. They haven't finished that storyline yet. So who knows?
Interesting. I like how Jackie Lan died. Right. It's this whole 3 prongs in with a short, like a dagger version of a lightsaber.
Well, the Shoto. It's. I mean, we've seen that. That's also something we've seen in Legends. And even, I mean, I know Ahsoka uses 2 full-size lightsabers, which is practical, but the katana and the shoto, using those together, that's also very, very cool to see.
Yeah, I believe Mara Jade started using that in the New Jedi Order against Jason.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I think she kind of inspired Luke to start training like that as well.
So what you guys saying is it's a very deep cut?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Joel. Thank you.
All right, we haven't talked about the 2 major characters yet. We have, of course, Master Soul, played by Lee Jung Jae. How to say it? Again, this is what I do for a living, or for life. I mispronounce people's names.
I mispronounce English, so you're completely off the hook for mispronouncing.
And I'm hosting karaoke on a university campus full of international students. It's always entertaining. And then, of course, we have the star of the show. Was it Amandla Stenberg?
Amandla Stenberg.
Yeah, who plays May and Osha. So
yeah.
I wonder if she got paid twice because she played 2 different characters. How does that work?
I don't know. I did.
Was it really one character?
Well,
it was 1 soul and 2 bodies, so technically it's 1 paycheck.
I found it interesting. Like there were apparently complaints that the younger versions of the sisters didn't look like, even though they were played by actual twins. Like, okay, come on, guys. You can that can happen. It's not just because they are completely identical, then doesn't mean that they're always going to look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know how this works sometimes.
Sorry to break the stream of thought, but I think the SciFi Pubcast should invest in a backdeck tank for Derek. And put it back.
I agree. I agree. We could probably use that.
Maybe it's on Craigslist. I'll keep on looking, okay, Derek? Because I
maybe I could marinate the food while I'm in there with it as well, at the same time. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
No, Derek, you don't cook in Bacta. That's not a thing.
It could preserve the food and my body at the same time. Just have it line up against me. It's like when they serve sushi off of naked people or something.
No. We are not pickling things in Bacta.
All right, let's just move on from there. The whole mask reveal. Does the mask work? Does it call back to masks we see in Star Wars, such as the famous one with Darth Vader, and to a lesser extent the one that Kylo Ren uses? Did that work? Because it's a very Star Wars thing to do, right? To have a bad guy behind a mask.
I thought the Darth Teeth helmet was very cool looking. It was a very creepy image, and it does look like Kylo Ren's helmet, so you could do some retconning and be like, oh, this is where he got the idea from.
Well, I did see people picking up on apparently some notes from either Kylo Ren's theme or just the Knights of Ren theme.
And he was somebody said that.
He was on screen.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that's coincidence or misdirect or what's going on with that.
Very, very interesting.
Oh, one quick thing. When you're talking about Osha and May, I think it's hilarious that they decided to name one of the characters Osha when Star Wars clearly has no Osha, because they have all these they have all these high plummets with no guardrails. There's no safety inspectors whatsoever. So I thought it was funny that they decided to call a main character Osha.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that in other places too. Yeah.
Great. How about the power? We're talking about Osha and May, right? The Power of Two, which is the song performed at the end of episode 7. It's performed by Victoria Monet. It's a pop song. First pop song in Star Wars.
Yeah, I didn't like that. That shouldn't have been in there.
No, it's a good song.
I just think this series really tried to gear itself towards younger fans. I mean, much younger fans. I mean, teenagers.
Yeah.
And to an extent it may work. I don't speak the same language. It doesn't speak to me as an old man, right?
Okay, boomer.
Yeah, I'm not boomer, man. I'm Generation X.
That's pretty sus.
Yeah, but you're later Gen X than I am, so
yeah.
I mean, Star Wars has always been more for kids than for adults. I mean, Star Wars has to some extent grown up with the fandom, but at the same time, it's still more for kids than for adults. There's more black and white. They're starting to get some hints of gray into the Star Wars universe, but it's a more black and white, like right from wrong type lesson than say Star Trek, which is more geared towards adults that have a more complex color palette, as so to speak.
Yeah, I think as space opera and all that, genre. I mean, there's lots of different genres being mixed. It's definitely gets more kids because I think as a child, and I was one back in the day, you could relate to good versus evil, right versus wrong. And of course, in reality is that there's not much in life that's so cut and dry and absolute. There's lots of shades of gray.
Yeah.
Did I mention there's witches in this TV show? Witches.
Yes, okay. That is one of my bigger disappointments in the show is that we didn't get more information on how that coven of witches worked.
Yeah. And what was the convergence?
And what was the convergence? What was the supposed sacrifice? Like were they all? Was this all going to be like the Hellbot Comet cult? Were they all just die at a certain point, or was there something more to that than what was going on, that what was hinted at, or what the Jedi assumed was going on? Because the Jedi never stopped to ask, what is actually going on here? Please explain what you mean by sacrifice. Please explain why you are, why are you children in this fashion and stuff like that.
Are we good with children's sacrifice?
No, of course not.
Because that's probably an option for the witches, right? Okay, they kind of hinted at that, so that it's not absolute, but what was the fates of May and Osha, right, with this coven?
But it could have been like a metaphorical sacrifice, not instead of there's a cynical part of my brain that was expecting the girls to just be pushed into that chasm, and like if you survive, you survive. If you don't, then that was the will of the Force or the will of the Threads or whatever you want to call it. But they weren't given the option to explain what was going on. The Jedi pretty much walked in and jumped to conclusions, which is very, very bad on them and does not help their case at all. And then we never get an actual explanation on what was actually going on, other than apparently the fact that the children were apparently created in the Force. So that doesn't make Anakin Skywalker unique in that respect, right. Except that the witches somehow managed to create twins instead of just one child where Anakin's concerned.
Right.
My reading of that is that So first of all, that obviously the twins were created by the witches. They somehow split one soul into two bodies. My personal theory is that they were going to sacrifice one of them so that the other could survive. So that because they had to do a human sacrifice to the convergence, but they didn't want to actually kill the person, so they split one person into two so that they could not really actually kill a person. And then also that Anakin was, if we go by the Darth Plagueis novel, Anakin was created by the will of the Force itself, not by human beings. So Anakin is still special and unique. Actually, I think I read Leslie Headland give a quote about that in an interview recently, that she said that Anakin's creation is still special and unique, and that the twins are not as important or powerful as Anakin was, that they're just kind of this weird little asterisk.
Sounds like a religious interpretation of something that we cannot possibly understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap up soon because I know we have to, stay healthy and not die. But we need to talk about, of course, the star of the show by all means, by all different criteria. Yes, that's right. I'm talking about Basil, the tenon tracker, the cute little rodent-like guy.
I thought he was so freaking annoying.
I never understood what his character or motivation was, because like at one point it seemed like he was the one who told Saul that what's her name was evil, but then he also stopped Saul from shooting on her in the chase sequence. Like I didn't understand what was going on with him, and they never explained that.
Yeah.
Yeah, something's not particularly right. I think it was just he was working for the Jedi, so he just reports to the Jedi, right? He just works here. He's just trying to do his job, guys.
I don't know. Like he seemed to be helping Saul, but then he also sabotaged Saul when he was trying to shoot her down. Like maybe he was just like, "No, you're better than this. Don't kill her." That's the only thing I could come up with.
Yeah, I think he saw Saul basically freaking out and doing un-Jedi things, and he wanted to de-escalate the situation and prevent harm. That's who knows?
I have no idea.
Mm-hmm. But okay, any last thoughts about Star Wars: The Acolyte? Let's go over to Derek.
The what's his name? Basil?
Yeah.
Basil. That was actually a good example of one of the things that bothered me about the finale: muddied character motivations. I didn't understand why people were doing the things that they were doing. Like I didn't really buy that Osha turned to evil, and I didn't buy that May turned to good. And I didn't really understand why Saul had this sudden obsession with these children, because he seemed to be like a perfectly chill Jedi before that. And now all of a sudden he's like, we have to get these children. We have to get these children. And it I don't know. It just kind of seemed to come out of nowhere. And I don't know. Yeah, there's just like a lot of weird, unexplained character motivations that I couldn't really follow. And why did Torben, I mean, I know he got his mind messed with, but why did he like storm off to attack the witch's temple all by himself like that? There was just a lot of weird, unexplained character motivations like that.
Yeah, because he was an annoying teenage kid, just wanted to go home because he wanted to play on his cell phone and get Wi-Fi again, right? You know, and it's emotional immaturity, but who knows?
Well, also, we don't actually see what happened to Mother Coral, so Mother Coral could still be out there messing with people too. So maybe she was messing with Torben this entire time.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of unanswered questions.
There are tons of unanswered questions with this series. I really hope that that if there is a season 2, that we get a few more answers.
Yeah, I believe there's be a season 2. It hasn't been announced officially, but the speculation is running very, very high. And
yeah.
As much as some people on the internet have bitched and moaned about this series, articles I've read said that it's been a very big hit ratings wise. So people complaining on the internet doesn't matter. It's how many people actually watch it.
Exactly.
Keri, any last thoughts?
I mean, like I said, this show is really, really good. There are some stuff I would like to see resolved, and that might, if the worst does happen and the show gets canceled, that could derail things. But otherwise, the show is fascinating. The everything about this is just really, really cool, and I can't praise it enough.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. With me, I'm an old guy. Get off my grass. I don't even like the prequels, but I've learned to like the prequels. And I think that same thing's going to happen with this series where, I don't particularly care for it, but Star Wars. I like Star Wars, right? Is it my favorite Star Wars? Not particularly. And I can see this for the last 6, 7, 8 years, whenever Disney bought Lucasfilm. I think since the Disney acquisition of Lucasfilm, I really, really like the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, and I really like Andor. Whereas the rest of them, like the Obi-Wan Kenobi series or the Book of Fett, it's like, well, Ashoka, it's like, they're okay. There's aspects of it I like. There's aspects of it I don't particularly care for. So I find Acolyte to be in that general camp. But saying that, give me another 10, 20 years, it may become my favorite. No, probably not. But still, there's artistic merit there. And don't mention Jar Jar Binks ever to me. Okay.
But we're getting Darth Jar Jar very soon. Come on.
Yeah.
That's gonna be freaking amazing.
Yeah, get off my grass. Young kids. No, I think it's good. And of course, like any storytelling, it has to change, and it has to be compelling to everyone, and compelling especially towards new people to get into this universe as a fan.
Agreed.
Amazing. Okay, before anyone dies, and I don't want Derek to die online or at the workplace because there's paperwork involved then, and I don't want to call health and safety. So let's just wrap the show up. How's that? Okay.
You know, speaking of making it more accessible to people, you know, I complained before about when Darth Plagueis appears and like people wouldn't know who that is. They would have solved that if they just had him say, "It is I, Darth Plagueis the Wise," and then he like sneaks back into the shadows.
Yeah,
that would have solved all my problems with the.
Nah, you want people wide to know who's that guy. Well, like, come my child. Let me tell you the tale of Darth Plagueis' Wise.
You could have just had like a little chyron on the bottom of the screen, Darth Plagueis.
Oh God. Anyway, this show is available on most podcast platforms and on YouTube. And yeah, something strange has happened with YouTube because they got rid of like Google Play. So podcasts, when they push it out, should be audio. I usually do the audio on my own feed for YouTube. I mean, like upload it to the SciFi Pubcast YouTube channel. We'll see. It's all a mystery, really. I'm sure witches are involved somehow. So subscribe today. For social media, we're on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter, and I'll just say X now because I don't particularly care for it, but the name for it, but it is what it is. What else? If you want to contact us directly, our email address is management@scifipubcast.space. We love hearing from our customers. So yeah, don't be bashful to message us in any method you want. And if there's swearing involved, yeah, just send that to me, okay? Appreciate it. Keri, what's your what's social media stuff are you on?
Any place that I'm on social media that I actually check, you can find me at Keri Blackfire42. That's KERI Blackfire42. Or you can listen to any of my other podcasts, DC Talk, Cape Chronicles, or Enter the Dojo over on the Random Chatter Network.
Excellent. And Derek, where can people find you on social media?
There's my website, derekbb.com. I'm at DerekJBB on Twitter, and you can buy the completed Dynasty High Fantasy trilogy on Amazon exclusively, and book 4 will be coming out soon. I just sent it off to the editor for final touches.
That's great. So that series is so magical.
Thank you.
Yeah, make sure you support our people, okay? And it's available on Amazon. I have the books, haven't read it yet. It's still on my to-do list, but yeah. Looking forward to it. And myself, I'm Joel. I can be found on social media. On X, I'm at Joel_Welch. I'm easy to find. I'm a white bald guy with a beard. It's easy. Okay. Okay. It's closing time. Take care and please make it home safe. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Music provided courtesy of Logan Rathbone. Podcast logo by Duran. Copyrighted Joe Welch. Listen responsibly. And we can't wait for your next visit to our fine establishment. Cheers.